You're listening to Releasing Trauma, a survivor's podcast. And now here's your host, Tracy Osborne. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are going to be talking with David Smith, and we are going to talk about his story. He's got, like so many of us, a very traumatizing story and past. So he's going to share a little bit about his story, and then we're going to talk about his healing journey. So, David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tracy. Again, my name is David Smith. This is kind of just a spur of the moment kind of thing, here just about a month and a half ago, something clicked in me that, my life wasn't in such despair. And over the past almost 5 years now, I didn't know if I wanted to be here anymore. It's a feeling that people don't come out of a lot of times. And I feel like because I was fortunate enough to have the support system that I had and, the people that have crossed my paths since everything had happened, I feel extremely blessed considering the situation. So I wanted to let anybody out there, some way, shape, or form, anywhere, I just want to scream to the top of my lungs, it's not over. It's just not over. And now I'll dig into my story. So I am the third youngest out of 6 kids, a big Irish family. There is my brother Michael, who I just recently met here just a few years ago. I didn't know that I had a brother out there. I thought I was the oldest brother for all these years, and I'm going on 36 this year. May 2nd, I'll be 36, and my brother Michael's from Rochester, New York. We're all originally from upstate New York, very small towns, country living and all that, and we just grew up fishing, kayaking, having fun. When mom said, get home, you better get home.
Yep.
It was just one of those. My father, he was a workaholic / entrepreneur. He owned his own small business my whole life. He was very, very big into old school hot rods and Harley-Davidsons. And that's just kind of the life I grew up in, was in muscle cars and whatnot, me and my brothers. I have a sister, Jackie. She's just a few years older than me. We don't talk much. Actually, we don't talk at all. And I'll get into that here shortly. I also have my brother, Joshua, who is the all-star of the family. He is a lieutenant in the United States Navy. He's a pilot. He is everything, special operation. My brother Josh is a freak of nature. He's one of those guys that gets up and runs for 5 miles in the morning for fun. It's just like, what are you doing? But and then there's Caleb and Isaac, the twins. Caleb and Isaac are the youngest. Caleb and Isaac are they would be 28 this year. Isaac's 28, and Caleb's the one that's deceased now. He was my best friend. My favorite brother, and I don't have to feel bad about saying that because the rest of my brothers will say the same thing. Caleb was everyone's favorite. And then there's Joshua, Anthony, my brother, and Shelby Porch. They are my stepbrother and sister. So got a big family. And my wife, Emily, we've been together for 20 years. She ended up moving us out to Nashville. She's a professor at a small state college here. So this is where we are. And me and Emily have been together since 6th grade. I had a daughter when I was in 7th grade, so that was quite the, I guess that would be the beginning of where everything started to go crazy. Emily was a straight A student, honor roll all the time, and I was a complete opposite. I got opposites to attract. I was the one making all the mischief and causing all the noise in school, and all that. And Emily and I somehow, by the grace of God, I got my hands on her, and we love each other, and we have for 20 years. But we ended up having a child in middle school, which was an extremely hard thing to do. People calling her horrible names, me trying to stick up for her, included with fights in school, and which eventually led to me dropping out in school at 10th grade. In 10th grade, I dropped out of school and went straight to work for my father. And Emily pursued her dream, where now she's got her doctorate. She's got her PhD in psychology and law. She's a forensic psychologist. The woman's amazing. She's absolutely amazing. And we had a kid at a very young age. And we did something called a open love adoption, where we're in her life, but we couldn't raise her. So there was another couple that couldn't have children, and they raised our daughter, but they allowed us to be there for every Christmas, every birthday, every
That's awesome.
To graduate. Yeah. She's going on 19, and I'm 30, 35, and it's amazing. But now let's get to the stuff that's changed my life, and hopefully I can get it out there and help other people. Because that's really my whole initiative to this podcast and where I go from here. Life got crazy after high school, just like it does for everybody. I just feel like for me, it was in particularly harsh because my best friend, somebody that we call a brother, he called my mother Mom. He's actually my brother Josh's best friend. He lived with us. He was just a brother. He was brutally murdered here about 6-7 years ago. He was ran over, backed over, and then ran over again. They put him in the car, they stabbed him, and then they shoved him over the bank. His name was Corey Hunt, and rest in peace, Corey. He's that was our first murder. And where my story's going, it's involved with a lot of murders. A lot of murders and unexpected deaths. But so Corey was murdered, and that was our first introduction to pain, like the pain of grieving. Me, my family, my mother, my brothers, we the whole town grieved for Corey. We had no idea that things like that could happen in our small town. And then lo and behold, not much longer, one of my childhood best friends, Phil, which was my mother's best friend in school, son. He was he was beaten over the head with a fire poker and shoved underneath a kitchen sink, in a vacant house for the real estate agents to find. Okay. And then
you don't have to go into full details. It's okay.
Thank you. Those that's just where it started. And
I know it's hard. Yes,
it really is. But we're going to get to the other stuff now. So my brother Caleb, I really want to emphasize on this man. My brother Caleb was the person that when he walked in the door, he lit everybody up. There's not a single person that had a bad thing to say about him all the way up until the day he was murdered. Even the man that murdered him never had 2 words to say to him. They never talked. So my wife moves out to a small town called Clarksville, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, it's where I reside now. And she, like I said, she took her professor job here, and I ended up being a supervisor for a large commercial construction company out of Nashville. And I had anywhere between 8 and 20 guys under me at all times. We had big projects like Amazon and Walmart, etc., is what we did. So Amazon had opened up a new distribution center in Opa-Locka, Florida, which is just outside of Miami. And I serviced 38 states at that time. Never in a million years was I ready for what was about to happen. We had worked everywhere from New York City to Boston to Baltimore to all up and down the East Coast. And then October 5th, 2018, my brother came down to my hotel room and he asked me if we could go in early. He wanted to get overtime because he wanted to buy his girlfriend at the time a new car. So I said, hold on, let me get my stuff around and get ready, and let me call the other guys, let them know we're going in an hour early. And I gathered everybody up. And as we're walking to the truck, because I didn't have my extra time to turn in timesheets, progress reports, etc., I threw my brother Caleb the keys of the truck, and I said, "Hey, will you drive?" And I hopped in the passenger seat, and I started my timesheets and whatnot. And if I'd have known 45 minutes later, I'd be begging for my brother to stay alive. I never would have thrown him those keys, but it's something that you got to get through. That is what they call survivor's guilt.
Yep.
And it crushed me for years. And so we get in the car, me and my guys. There's 5 of us in the truck, and there's 5 in a truck behind me. We get within a half mile from my job site, and I have my foot up on the dash. And I just remember it going brake, gas, and my brother saying, "This guy's not going to let me over. What's his problem?" I said, "Don't worry about it. Just let him by." As we let the guy by, we went to get behind him in the turning lane, and he locked up his brakes and wouldn't let us behind him. So we sped up to get in front of him, and that's when he sped up and stopped, and he whipped his door open. The last words my brother ever said to me was, "What the F?" I turned around, looked, and there was a man getting out of his car behind us. My brother opened the door, and as soon as his feet touched the ground, a 45 slug had entered just underneath his left eye and blew out the back of his neck. And it happened within seconds. It was, it happened so fast, I didn't even have time to push power on my phone to turn off what I was doing.
Split second. Yeah. So is this just was it road rage, or were you targeted?
No, this was it's road rage.
Okay.
We weren't the fellow was doing anywhere between 60 and 70 miles per hour down a turning lane. He was 22 years old. He was driving extremely fast, and we were in one of the worst neighborhoods in the United States. We had no idea that that's where we were. So yeah, my brother was shot with his fruit bowl, his breakfast still on the dash, a lit cigarette in his hand. When the bullet hit him, he turned, he twisted. The force of the bullet twisted him, and he twisted and he fell face first. And the sound was it's louder than any clap you could ever think of. So in a split instant, I realized what had just happened. And I came around the truck with my hands up, begging this man, "Don't kill me, don't 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 kill me." That's all I could keep saying until I got to my brother. And I got to my brother, and he wasn't responsive. At this point, the guys in my crew were starting to surround my brother, and this guy still had his gun on me. And when I felt the back of his head, I could tell that it was a fatal shot.
Yeah.
And he was bleeding so profusely that I knew that the amount of blood leaving his body, he was no longer with us. It was running out of into the drainage ditches of the street, and the police were not there to tape off the section yet. So people were just kind of splish splash. You know, it was until it went down and went around the corner. And
yeah,
I don't know her name, and I'll probably never speak to her again. But there was a lady that stopped, and she got out and said, I'm a nurse. Let me look at him. And she took one look at him, and she grabbed my hand and kissed it and said, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. There's nothing I can do for him. And she got in her car and left. At that point in time, I realized that my brother was dying, if not dead already, and that no officials and no first responders had been contacted yet. So I jumped up, complete fight or flight, and I ran as fast as I could to the intersection to see what intersection I was at to call 911. As I was calling 911 and telling them that it was at 142nd and Lejeune Street, this man was also calling 911 while he had his gun pointed at the guys on my crew. And he said, I just killed a man, hung up the phone, and threw it in his car. It wasn't long. You know, maybe 2 minutes before the cops showed up. And so there he is, you know, he's laid out and he's dying. And I don't know what to say because I don't know if he can still hear me. And I don't want to say something that's going to panic him. And that's all these crazy things that run through your mind at that point that, what do you say? What do you say? And we used to wrestle in school and we used to do soccer and all that. So I just kept saying, hang in there, brother. Hang in there, bro. Hang in there, bro. And one of my crewmates was feeling for his pulse and said there's still a pulse, but it's low. And right then and there is when he died. And the guy that shot him, you know, he shows no remorse. He had his gun stuck on us saying, do you want some too? I don't know if I can swear or not, but
go ahead. It's okay.
Do you want some too, bitch? Do you want some too, bitch? You know, while I'm trying to bring it's bad. It's real bad at this point. The cops come, they draw their weapons, they apprehend them, and they take them in. And we sat 8 hours on the scene with the mobile homicide units and questioning and investigators and detectives and measuring and photos, crime scene photos and all that. I'll never forget the sound. You know, they treat it as if it's an oil spill, and they just pour cat litter all over everything.
Right.
And scrape it up and put it in a bucket. And so
it's gotta be so hard to watch them be almost emotionless when they clean up the scene. You know, knowing that that's your brother's life force they're cleaning up. You know, I can't even begin to imagine what that feels like.
And this is the point I'm trying to get out, is at that point in time, it's chaos.
Yeah.
It's what comes later that's the killer. It's the
let's kind of skip ahead a little bit and let's talk about obviously, I mean, you lived through a nightmare. So I can't even begin to fathom the level of trauma that you felt. And I know it's taken you a long time to kind of get through those initial stages of trauma. How did you heal? How did you go from, complete shock and numbness and anger and, depression, all the stuff that we feel as trauma victims, to I need to heal.
So my brother was getting he was pushed into the ambulance, and they were trying the best they could. It wasn't gonna work, and they life flighted him to Jackson Memorial Hospital in Miami, Florida, where he was pronounced dead. And, I'll never forget, as the helicopter was taking off, I dropped to my knees and I begged God, please, no, not Caleb. Please, no, not Caleb. And then that's when my wife called me and let me know that he was pronounced dead. So it started with a huge lack in faith.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you lose all hope. I'll never forget having to make the phone call to my mom, which was the worst thing I've ever. I mean, how do you call your mother and tell her?
Her baby.
I said, Mom, he's dead. He's dead. And she's going, what? She's just having her coffee. They killed him. And I just lost all faith. And this is where the story gets hard, but I want people to know, and this is the whole point of it, I'll get right to it, is I don't know if it's time. I don't know if it's a divine's set time in his own personal clock to click, knock it out of you. I don't know what it is, but I have been in psych wards 3 times since this has happened. I've been in trouble. I've overdosed 4 times trying to kill myself. This is really real. The chair I'm sitting in right now, my wife had to Narcan me and then bring me back to life. So the process isn't pretty.
No.
But could you imagine my mother having to get a phone call from my wife, who has now just watched her husband die? The chaos that it would create. And if you don't have that support system, don't rely on that. Rely on your own strength, because the person that's gone or whatever happened to you, you can't allow that person the power to destroy the rest of your happiness for the rest of your life. Why let them win? 2 weekends ago, I had a victim impact statement with the man that murdered my brother. It's been 3.5 years because of COVID and whatnot that I had finally had the chance to sit down, and as well as my brothers, my mother, my aunts, uncles, we all got to talk to him. He showed no remorse. It's just, you can't rely on anybody but yourself. You have to do it yourself. You got to do it yourself. Nobody is going to give you the strength besides maybe a greater power, if I was going to say. And I'm not a Bible thumper. I'm not,
right.
You know what I mean? And one of them people, I'm just telling you right now that the things I've gone through in the 40 minutes that we have to talk, I couldn't cover. I've been to a place called The Refuge in Opa-Locka, Florida. It's a PTSD and addiction center that saved my life. The people there have been through, everybody wants to put what they've been through on a spectrum of who's been through more and this and that and everything else. It's such a crock. We've all been through something that broke our heart, and we all have to come out of it one way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, I had to hold my brother while he died. I had to see, smell, taste, feel all the crazy things that went on that day. But I'll be damned if I pushed it on my family to hear it and feel my pain, because that's meant for me. They don't need to know all the bad and gory details just as well as everyone here, because the point of this conversation is one day you can snap out of it. You can snap out of it. It's doable. It's doable. I have flatlined multiple times. Right here, these are just the ones I gathered up around the house that I could find. But these, one, they're all rehabs I finished and then failed and I had to redo again. You just can't give up.
It's, healing is, especially from something of that magnitude, it's definitely not an overnight process, and there is no end. No. I think at one point you can get to a point where, like, I think you have, where you realize that, this isn't the way I want to continue living or surviving. And that you're not going to let him win.
No.
And take your life along with your brother's. But that doesn't minimize the pain. It doesn't minimize the effects, the after effects that you feel,
From having a baby in middle school to watching my dad die on hospice to friends being murdered to watching firsthand my brother getting executed in the street. And that same year, my grandfather died on the 21st of December, right when my family got together to get, recoup. We all got together to recoup over what just happened to Caleb for Christmas. And on the 21st, right before Christmas, my grandfather was found dead by my Aunt Robin. And, and then
one thing after another.
Yeah. And then only 3 weeks later, on my way to Miami for our first hearing, January 13th, my Uncle Tim died. Yeah, it was, I carried 3 people to the grave in less than a year. And those people happened to be my grandfather, my brother, my best friend, and my father. And then I find myself in a situation where the people I used to talk to and vent to are all gone. And it's just me, my brothers, and everybody else. They're all dealing with their own way. You can't intrude on their healing. So, like my brother Josh, he's found it in being a workaholic. Let's be real. He is a nonstop workaholic. He's in the United States Navy. He's a lieutenant. He flies planes. He does jujitsu. He runs all over the place. He does Tough Mudders. He does marathons. I mean, he just stays busy.
If he stops, that's when it all comes flooding in.
And that's what I think he's scared to death of. For me, I got put in a situation where I was in my house with no job, just with my thoughts. And after all the darkness, I mean, I really, really, truly, Tracy, I have tried to take my own life multiple times. Yeah. And I did 4 times. And for some reason,
you're still here?
Paramedic, a family member, somebody found me and saved my life, and I am still here.
Yep.
Talking to you is just a whim. I sat there the other day and I have to start letting people know that are out there, because when this happened to me, I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out myself. And if you have even the slightest bit of will, even if it's not for yourself, do it for the person you lost. Do it for the people that are still there. And if you don't have people, like a lot of folks out there don't, do it for yourself, because we are going to die, whether it's of old age, whether it's cancer, whether it's this, but while we're here, we can't take away what's happened, but we have a pretty good chance of making the future exactly what we want.
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it. It's in and out of rehab, in and out of paramedics. You know, people asking me, "Do you want to see don't you want to see your daughter graduate?" While I'm, you know, hooked up to machines. Yes, I mean it's all just.
I mean, yeah, you do, but you also want the pain to go away, and that's what suicide is. It's not that they want to die. It's not that they want to hurt anybody or harm anybody or, you know, cause pain to their family. It's they just want their own pain to go away, and they don't know how to stop it.
And it leads to a lot for me. It led to alcoholism.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I just drank. You know, when you're sitting there at a hotel and your face is plastered all over Fox News and you're watching your brother over and over again on breaking news, you know, getting life. I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking. It almost cost me everything. And including my I almost drunk myself to death. I mean,
yeah.
But, you know, the defense attorney against us on this, because Ford is a whole different breed. They're trying to let him walk, saying that he was in fear for his life. It's called the stand your ground. And it was completely, it had nothing to do with this case, but it's what the defense lawyer had to play.
Ugh. It's not the only thing he had to play. I mean,
yeah.
You know.
And they also said that if I do EMDR or ART for my PTSD, it'll take away my credibility as an eyewitness. So how am I supposed to take care of my mental health?
Who told you that?
The defense lawyer.
Well, the defense lawyer's talking out his ass.
For 3 years.
I'm sorry, but he's talking out his ass. I mean, what are they going to expect you to just...
She says that it changes my perception of the reality of what happened that day. So for 3 years, I didn't do EMDR or ART or any kind of PTSD or anything whatsoever because I was scared to lose the case for my brother or my credibility. So I had no choice.
Yeah.
I wanted to live. I wanted to make sure my mother doesn't bury another son. I wanted my brother to be happy with the man that I am. You know, Caleb was just the best. I mean, the hat right here I wear on my desk. This was the hat he was wearing when they shot him in the head. It blew his head. I mean, this hat went flying off his head. Does that look like somebody with bad intentions?
It says PPG on it. No.
Yes, with caulking and everything else on it, you know.
Yeah, just your typical work hat.
And then I wrecked my Harley-Davidson in 2020, and I broke my jaw in 3 places and turned my right leg backwards.
Ouch.
I had to learn how to walk again. And
dude, you've been through some shit, man. You've been through some serious, through some stuff. And the fact that you are here and you are talking about it is amazing. And I have to give you the biggest kudos for having the courage and the bravery to step out of your comfort zone and come on the show today and talk to us and tell us your story. That it is not an easy thing to do by any stretch of the imagination. And I am so honored that you have come on the show to tell us your story.
Well, I appreciate it. And I just, there's so much. Like I said, I could fill up hours of your time.
Oh, I'm sure. There's a book in there somewhere.
Well, my wife's a psychologist, and to be honest with you, she wants to write a book called The Psychologist and the Psycho.
Okay, well, when that published, let me know, because number one, I want to read it. And number two, I'm going to have you guys back on the show. I think that is a fantastic book. title.
She's got a couple books out there. She does. Dr. Emily Pica is my wife. She's my rock. And I appreciate everything. I wish I can get more out, but at the end of this, I just want people to know that no matter physical, mental, whatever the case may be, like I said, right here are coins that they gave me that tell me that I completed and I won. But then I got another one. And then I got another one. And then I got another one. And then I got another one. Yep. And now I'm done. It maybe took me 5 or 6 times, but I'm here. Give up. I'm healthy. I'm walking. My jaw works again. My brother, I say his name every single day. My mother, everybody is in a good place. It just took a little while.
Oh, yeah.
And we all agree that my brother would not be able to continue on his path or wherever he's going or whatever the universe has in store for him until we were at peace. And like I said, I've been through addiction, murder, closed caskets. I've been through it. I've been through it. And I just want people to know it may take time. It will be the hardest thing you've ever been through in your life. But when you come out at it, you'll be stronger than you ever thought you ever could be. Absolutely. And this is my very first time openly talking about this at all, ever. And
thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you. Listeners, I will have David's contact information if you want to reach out. If you've gone through something like this, you just need someone to talk to who gets it, who understands. I'm sure that David would have no problems talking with you and helping you figure out how to get the help that you need. One of the things that I always say is you're not alone, and there is hope, and there is life after trauma. And that's what I'm going to leave you here with today. So listeners, thank you as always for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in the next show. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure you hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss a show. Be sure to check us out on our new socials on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.